all this has to, first off, can we just have a conversation about all the different flags that are out there for just a quick hot second? Let me throw this over to, I think if you had to be tested, I think if you yourself had to be tested as to all the different iterations of different actual either military authorized or some other officially accepted flag that represents something with the United States, you would probably not pass the test. I'm just saying. Because now these are flags that I like. You know why? Because these are flags that are flags about a purpose and principle. It's not a flag about, well, this is how I like to have the sex, so I'm going to have a flag that represents that. And this color means I got this bit, and this color means this person's got this bit, and we put our bits together like this, and this is what that flag means. They actually mean something. You know what I'm saying? They mean something. Like the Gadsden flag, it means something. You know, you got the Easton flag. The Gadsden flag is one of my favorites. And not just because, you know, since the Tea Party days, I've adopted it and loved it and have it. I mean, I've got the Betsy Ross flag framed in my house. My house is, just in case you were wondering, my house is red, white, and blue. My whole motif is red, white, and blue. Literally every bit of it. And I got Americana everywhere. It's not crazy. It's proper. It's like Ron Swanson exploded in my house, but with a better actor. Anyway, so there's my point is that there's a ton of different types of flags, right? You got the Fort Mercer flag. You got all different types. And this flag that they're saying that's Justice Alito. He apparently, there was one flag where he flew a flag upside down during a dispute with neighbors. Alito sounds like a party. Can I just say, doesn't he? He sounds like the dude that's got the dirt. Like Justice Thomas, I know his wife, and she's very lovely. Justice Thomas also seems hysterical. I don't know anyone else. I mean, you're the Supreme Court Justice, and what do you do for your vacation when you're on break? You get an RV and you go across America. He does that every year. I mean, that's pretty amazing. Justice Alito absolutely sounds like somebody who would spill the dirt at a dinner party, that you want to sit next to him. You know what I mean? He seems like he's a lot of fun. So now they have this headline over at the New York Times. This is how it started. The headline is this. Another provocative flag was flown at another Alito home. Oh, quelle horreur. Was it the Pander alphabet flag? If he would have flown that flag, sidebar, if he would have flown that flag, that pastel nightmare, it's a disgusting pastel nightmare. Pastels should be outlawed. If he would have flown that, they're horrible. If he would have flown that flag, that would have been acceptable, Kane, would it not?
We wouldn't even be hearing about it right now.
Wouldn't even be hearing about it. Y'all would be going about your day, picking the meats that you have, getting ready to do your cemetery visits for Memorial Day. Y'all would be going about your lives. But instead, we got to hear about it because they don't like how Alito thinks. They being the progressive left. So he's got what they called an appeal to heaven flag. I got to be real with you. I knew of it, but I wasn't super familiar with it. I mean, I knew of the flag, but I wasn't super familiar with it. And it's like an appeal to heaven, appeal to God. And it was one of the, when Washington was commander of the Continental Army, and it had to do with, I don't know why they think, it's also called the Pine Tree flag. I don't know why they think it's a controversial thing. When he was commander-in-chief of the Continental Army, it was a maritime flag. It's like the official, isn't it still like an official maritime flag for Massachusetts? Yeah. And it came from his secretary, and it's the pine tree, and it says appeal to heaven. And it's been like New England. It's like a big flag still in New England, basically. Anyway, so John Locke talked about it on his Second Treatise of Government. I mean, it's an official. It's like a part of our heritage, our American heritage. And there were like 3 supporters apparently that had that flag of Trump, 3 Trump supporters that had that flag during the January 6th riot. Okay, and guess what? All of the rioters on January 6th, Kane, I don't know if this has not been widely reported. Did you know this?
What?
Breaking news.
Yeah.
All of the rioters on January 6th, all of them wore shoes.
What?
Yeah.
No one told us this.
Now, I know this was not widely reported, so we know what this means. That if, look at your feet right now. Everybody just pause and look at your feet. Unless you're driving a car, don't do that. Oh, you can steal a quick glance. You see that? What's on your feet? Shoes. Oh
my gosh.
My gosh. Did you guys know that you basically support an attack on the Capitol?
How did we not put this together?
I'm telling you. I mean, they only had 3 people. Like, there were like 3 or 4. It was like a tiny number. And they were kind of dispersed, and they also had different flags, but they had the pine tree flag too. The Appeal to Heaven flag. But they all were wearing shoes, which I think is a more important point to note here. That is a common denominator, is the shoe wearing. All of them. I saw videos. Did you see it when the security was opening the door? Guess what? The security was also wearing shoes.
What?
They opened the door, and when they were ushering in the shoe-wearing people there at January 6th, and people had no idea. Most of them had no idea what the hell's going on. They thought it was a big tour. They walk in. They're like, oh, look at it. They stand behind the velvet ropes with their shoes.
What?
I mean, that right there. And I hear, Kane, I've never seen a photo of his feet, but I've heard that Justice Alito also
don't say it.
wears shoes.
Oh, my, there it is.
I mean,
talking about the other shoe dropping.
That is the other shoe dropping. Goodness. That's pretty amazing. So this New York Times piece, they got 3 photographs. They said the Appeal to Heaven flag was aloft at the Alito home on Long Beach Island in July and September of 2023. They also got a Google Street View image, and they saw the flag. Very common flag in the East Coast. Now, they had an upside-down American flag that he flew at his Virginia home in 21. He says his wife raised it during a clash with a neighbor. I have to have a full-on sidebar for that little reaction. Men, I want you to make an assessment. I want you to make an assessment here. If your wife has, a little tit for tat with a neighbor or someone, it's like a petty thing, right? Maybe, just maybe, if there's a neighborhood event, that person doesn't get an invite, right? Maybe she doesn't say hello to them as y'all leave church, right? Maybe she just strolls her cart right on past them at the supermarket. Not Martha Ann Alito. No. Martha Ann Alito takes her happy backside outside. She takes down the flag, turns it upside down, and then hoists it back up. That is a whole other level. That, my friends, is an example of a woman with whom I think it's best to not mess. Just saying. Get you a wife, men, that would take your flag and invert it and put it up as a message to the neighbor. So, my gosh. So there were people who were concerned, busybodies. Apparently, there is a whole subset of people that do nothing but stare at Samuel Alito's house. And they are very worried about what he's doing. Not that there's a whole class of people that sit and watch Samuel Alito's house, but that he's doing things, guys, that they dislike. Imagine that. On his own property. Oh! Senator Lindsey Graham, if I could HTML tag this with lisps, his Georgian lisp, said that displaying the inverted flag was not good judgment. Neither is wanting to bomb everything with a heartbeat, but, there we go.
How was it bad judgment?
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know how it is. So they said that the Appeal to Heaven, it was seen flying at the justice's New Jersey home as a key January 6th case arrived at the Supreme Court. It was a case that determined whether those who stormed the Capitol could be prosecuted for obstruction. What? And so they were upset. Judges should not be giving any this whole thing is a presupposition because there were literally only 3 flags pictured ever. 3 flags. There's more Trump flags, MAGA flags, Gadsden flags, and a couple of other flags that are seen there. So they're trying to allege, and apparently I would just say if the wife does that with the American flag, I'm pretty sure that the Alitos have like a collection of flags, right? That they put up. I think that it is, you're trying to push bias by claiming that his possession of one of the fewest represented flags on January 6th is in any way indicative of bias. Furthermore, Alito has never never given the impression that he is biased one way or another in any of the J6 stuff. Not in the way you would say that maybe Ruth Bader Ginsburg, when she's talked about stuff previously, whether it's abortion or anything else, she never recused herself from abortion cases despite speaking out in favor of it with her own name on public. Or Sotomayor's activism or Kagan's remarks, to say nothing of Ketanji Brown Jackson. I mean, this is silly. They're still mad because that little shrew, Merrick Garland, never made the Supreme Court. So they've been wanting to pack the court ever since. And now they want to get Alito out. And they're just trying to pick for something. I just want to know, like, at what point, is there like a scale of acceptable flag? Of like what flags are acceptable and what aren't? You know, is there like a sliding scale? Like, is it the appeal to heaven flag that's on the no part? And just like the regular American flag, that's the yes part? And then what's like in the middle? I'm just curious. Like what's one end of the spectrum or the other? What's the middle point? Like where do you start getting into suspicious territory? You know, life busybodies. When does this happen?
I think it's just not a spectrum at all. The left will look at whatever they don't agree with as some sort of bigotry or racism or something. And that's their spectrum. That's literally the
Alito
filter.
also has an American flag. There were a lot of American flags there on January 6th. Oh my gosh. This was a flag that George Washington commissioned. That's not a scandal. That is so stupid to try to tie him to that. I mean, it's insane. Stop. It's not like he flew what is it? One of the sex flags. That's what we're calling it now. It's a sex flag. It's not a pride flag. It's a sex flag. Stop.